Hey, Magic fans, welcome back. This is your captain speaking here at Captain Clyde's MTG. And, well, let's talk a little bit about Pioneer, because there's some new cards in Foundation that are bringing back to life some old deck archetypes. And it's going to be wild. Are they any good? Who knows, but hell, let's talk about them, because I got to admit, I am intrigued. So, without further ado, don't forget, comment, like, and subscribe. Links in the description and all that good jazz. We got our giveaway going. Make sure you hit it up. You can do daily entries. And, heck, as we go and we get more people in the channel, it's just going to be more fun stuff to give away. So, we're going to start this day out with the Leyline Axe. As you can see, Moa. That's my Vanna White impression. You didn't catch that. Anyway, so Leyline Axe, the big thing about this one is if the card's in your opening hand, you may begin the game with it on the battlefield. You don't have to cast it. The equipped creature gets +1/+1, has double strike and trample. Pretty powerful, not going to lie, but 4 colorless does suck if it's not in your opening hand. So what would make this so powerful that it would actually change an archetype? Well, if you guys don't remember what Metalwork Colossus does, it costs X less to cast, where X is the total converted mana cost of non-creature artifacts you control. And that's an 11. If you have that axe in your hand, he now casts for 7. If you lay nothing else. If you got 2 axes in your hand, boy, you might have a 10/10 by turn 2, and that's half of someone's life total. Just saying. So, inside this deck, it looks a little something like this. We obviously have the 4 Metalwork Colossuses. We also have 4 Ingenious Smiths. Great card from Dungeons & Dragons. White and 1 for 1/1. It lets you mill through the top cards of your deck, reveal an artifact from among them, put it in your hand, the rest on the bottom. So it gives you more ways to find not only your Metalwork Colossus, but maybe other cards to help you get your Colossi out. With that, you also have Brass Knuckles, because I mean, maybe you'll get a chance to cast this. Who knows? But if you ain't got your Colossus out on turn 4, laying this and getting a chance to copy it, i.e. the copy becomes a token, you have now 2 cards for 4 that makes the Colossus cost 8 less, which means now you're playing him pretty much as soon as he hits the battlefield. As soon as you draw him. So, yeah, other things going on there. We have this powerhouse. You get to scry 2 when it enters. Also, whenever another artifact mana value 3 or greater enters, you get to make, giant artifact +1 tokens that are +1/+1 for each artifact you have, which, since your whole deck's artifacts, kind of makes them big. We have Lava Spur Boots because, haste is kind of a thing, and it's cheap. We have the Blue-White Angus. This is a blue-white deck, by the way, in case you didn't notice that yet. It enters, exile 1 target creature until this leaves battlefield. This is your removal spell, and you have 4 of them, so they're pretty sweet. Plus, it feeds your Colossus. Fabrication Foundry, another way to cast artifacts. Not only does it only cost 2 to come out, but it costs 2 to come out. It's not a creature, so it reduces the metalwork by 2. Plus, it taps for 1. Technically, that makes it 3. And exile 1 more other artifacts you control, mana value X. Return target artifact, mana value X or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. That does come into play sometimes, when you got things like a bunch of Brass Knuckles laying around. Anyway, the Moonshare Prototype, another 1 casting cost artifact that will feed the Colossus to make it cheaper, plus lets you tap for mana to cast the Colossus. Portable Hole. Anyway, again, great removal for those aggro decks to buy you some time. Plus, again, an artifact, making the Colossus cheaper. 1 Iron Crag, because, who don't like mana rocks? And then the land, you pretty much got everything. You do have a Sanctum of Ugin, so that, if you happen to Colossi on your turn, 7 or greater, you can go fetch something that's colorless, put it into your hand, because, Colossi. Adventurer's Fair, so you can just go fetch things. If you haven't played this card before, it's insane. And lots of other random stuff. And the sideboard, you got a couple Mystic Forges because, you're using Colossi. Artifacts. Colossus on the brain. Metallic Rebuke, because, counterspells can be a thing, especially when you got a bunch of artifacts in your deck to make this thing cost nothing, 1 blue. A Dampening Sphere for all those combo decks, and to make sure that they can't use any of their lands. A Knockout Blow, just in case you do run across those aggro decks that are primarily red, and you need to gain life and kill all their stuff when they swing at you. And a Redstone Piece, because, the hell with you and your graveyard. So, very interesting and a very cool new deck archetype coming back. We also have Goblins, which is red-white, which is really weird because goblins are red. But the reason why is Rise the Past, 2 white and 2. Return all creature cards, mana value 2 or less from graveyard to the battlefield. Kind of a reversed Wrath of God, if you will. And if you look down here, you can see there's all kinds of good things in here. There's the Battlecry Goblin, which gives your stuff haste. It's a 2/2, it's not too bad. You have the Cacophony Scamp, which is a goblin, which does the whole proliferate thing and deals damage. Conspicuous Snoop, probably one of the best goblins in everything. Fable of the Mirror Breaker, because it's just broken. It's just too good not to play. Also here we have Goblin Warrior. Fireblade Charger. We have the Goblin Instigator, which just spits out more goblins. We have the Horde Master, which then gives all your goblins +1/+1. If you have a couple of these in your graveyard and rise your graveyards and get ugly real quick. And you have the Cirque Prospector, which clearly lets you sacrifice all your goblins and put them in a graveyard so you can then put them all back on the battlefield and make more mana. We have one Brass Tunneler, really just to give you a little extra mana and do a few things, draw and discard, because you really want to, if you have goblins, you might as well discard them and draw more to get your raise, so you can just put them all back on the battlefield from the graveyard. It's just better that way. And again, you have your Raise the Past, basic land suite, and some sideboard cards. You've got Chandra's Defeat, 5 damage to a red creature or planeswalker. You can draw cards. It's pretty good against the same style of deck. Deafening Silence to prevent your opponents from playing only 1 card a turn, because all you got to do is play 1, which is Rise. Get Lost, which is just handles everything as removal in the Invasion for those pesky counterspell decks. Strict Protocol's pretty good. Whenever a permanent entering the battlefield causes a triggered ability, you counter that ability unless the controller pays 2. Stops a lot of combo decks outside your own. And then there's the case here where you can just draw more cards because you have none in hand once you solve it. So, pretty sweet for a Goblin deck. Moving on, we have one last Elves deck for Pioneer, with Banner of Kinship being the bro thing here. Again, 5 colorless, an artifact. As it enters, choose a creature type. This artifact enters with a fellowship counter for each of those creatures. Creatures you control then get +1/+1 for each +1 for each fellowship counter. And if you have, let's be fair, played an elf every turn, your first 2 turns, on turn 3, you will have 5 mana to make this a 2/2, and pump your elves +2/+2. And then the next one that comes out is just worse, and it just kind of multiplies. So in this, we have the Jasper Sentinel, because, elves that make mana. The Elvish War Master that just makes more elves. That way, when the banner comes out, it's even more terrible. The Visionary, which is just an elf that just pumps other elves because more pump. Dwynen's Elite, again, making extra elves. Elvish Mystic, because Mana Dork. Same with Land of War Elves. Elvish Archdruid, because, again, who doesn't want to play with Gaia's Cradle with legs and pump your team? Tyvar the Pummeler, because, he is an elf, but he also comes with an overrun built in on him. And then we also have the Circle of Dreams Druid, which, again, who doesn't like playing with Gaia's Cradle with legs? So, yeah, and then you have the Banner of Kinship for Collective Company to make sure you can spit out even more stuff onto the battlefield to get your banner to be huge, just huge. Kind of interesting that Overrun's not in this, but whatever. Probably not necessary. Nice little suite of land. Also a 3-tree city because, Gaia's Cradle and all. Shaper Sanctuary to make sure you keep your hand full as they start popping off your elves. Thoughtseize, because it's Thoughtseize. Who wouldn't run it if you could? Fatal Push because you need removal because elves are small and squishy until they get big. And you have an unlicensed Hearse to just prevent all the shenanigans from graveyard decks. So a very interesting deck as well for elves, especially in Pioneer. It's going to be cool to see if any of this floods over into Standard from any of these kind of deck styles. But yeah, if you're into Pioneer, me not so much, go get you a handle on that and see what it's about. So, seem like some fun decks. But then again, still don't seem as powerful as most of the combo decks in Pioneer. But who knows? This could be the beginning of a brand new world. Brave new world. Brave new world. God, I'm bad at quotes. So until next time, be kind, and I hope to see you crossing the game table. Hopefully elving it up.